Fandom is a wonderful thing at times. It helps elevate talented people through new echelons of their career. It keeps entertainers in touch with the audiences they ultimately serve, and it's the reason my own mother will now never ever Google me again. It gets worse though. Quite often seemingly normal people can swerve brutally up the overpass marked weird and then drive the opposite way down the highway, smashing into every single level of wrong along the road. My name is Adam Cleary, and these are 10 insane things movie fans did for their favourite actors. Number 10. A woman in love with Michael Douglas threatens to kill his wife. Straight up, it is probably okay to be obsessed with your favourite stars, so long as you're not creepy about it. I, for example, keep my goth Kate Blanchett infatuation limited to the odd tweet and life-size model of her I made out of chewing gum. That's perfectly normal, but what Michael Douglas superfan Gwyneth Knight did? Oh no. Over many months between 2002 and 2004, Knight sent multiple violent threats to Douglas's wife, Catherine Zeta-Jones. She reportedly stated that she'd kill her and I quote here, feed her to the dogs, all because she wanted to be with Douglas. Knight even stood in court and falsely stated that she'd had an affair with him and that he'd subsequently given her money as an attempt to justify her actions. In the end, she didn't get her man, but rather 3 years in jail. Close enough. Number 9. A fan cut off their ear and sent it to Jared Leto. Fan mail is a commonly accepted part of celebrity culture. We once got sent loads of carpet samples, and now everyone uses them as fancy coasters. True story. That said though, what Jared Leto got in the post was, yes, it was a bit much. To quote the big man himself, someone cut off their ear once and sent it to me, and that was very strange. A whole ear, the Van Gogh move. The note just said, "Are you listening? I never knew who it was who's missing their ear out there. I poked a hole in it and wore it as a necklace." I mean, 2 things there. Obviously, first, I have no idea what Jared Leto sounds like, and 2, maybe take that with a pinch of salt, as he's notoriously full of, well, used condoms and stuff. Regardless, straddling the worlds of music and film as he does, it wouldn't be that surprising. Number 8. 2 twins spent £15,000 to look like Brad Pitt. Do you ever just see a photo of Owen Wilson and think it should be accompanied by the headline, "Local man spends thousands on cosmetic surgery to look like Ellen DeGeneres"? Anyway, in related news, 2 twin brothers once spent £15,000 on a series of painful and complicated surgeries to try and look more like Brad Pitt, and, I mean, yeah. I guess if you are going to smash your face up, you might as well go all in. Matt and Mike Schlepp, who looked like this, decided to chuck their life savings on surgeries to try and look like this. The result was this. That's what 2 nose jobs, cheek, jaw and chin implants and a total of 41 porcelain veneers will apparently get you. Number 7. John Hinckley Jr. tried to kill the president to impress Jodie Foster. Ah yes, one straight out of the Adam Cleary book of flirting, this one, waxing a prominent political figure in order to get a woman to notice you. 60% of the time, it works every time. One time it didn't work though, unbelievably, was when a man named John Hinckley Jr. decided to off then US President Jimmy Carter. He believed deep in his really mad old head that this would somehow make actress Jodie Foster fancy him. His logic was that having seen Foster in Taxi Driver sort of fall for Robert De Niro's Travis Bickle, he'd simply ape his look and character arc and boom, she'd be his. Anyway, long story short, Hinckley's assassination attempt failed, he was declared legally insane, locked in a psychiatric hospital, but got released in 2016. Classic Cleary flirting. Number 6. A charity shop was transformed into a Jeff Goldblum shrine. Going to switch things up a bit here because, well, yeah, that one was a bit heavy. Somebody took a charity shop and effectively turned it into a shrine for Jeff Goldblum. So now what we're going to do is put on some soothing classical music and show you exactly what it looked like. Enjoy yourself. Who did this? We don't actually know, but if you're ever in the Cardiff area, feel free to duck in and check it out. Number 5. Some Twilight fan gets actual fangs put in. Mention the Twilight saga and what is the first thing that comes to mind? Is it 5 commercially successful movies? Is it the breakout roles for Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart and Taylor Lautner? It's not, is it? It's a really intense fan base of teenage girls and all the sexually unsatisfied 60-year-olds who eventually took 50 Shades of Grey to their book club nights. Anyway, we all knew at least one nutty Twilight fan circa 2008, but there were none nuttier than a one Taylor Wilkins who had tooth-coloured resin applied to his canines and then moulded into pointy fangs. Now, on the face of it, that seems like a fairly normal way to pay tribute to your favourite fictional vampire, but I've just looked this up, and the vampires in Twilight don't have FANGS. Yeah, that's pretty awkward. Number 4, someone sent Zac Efron a piece of their skin. Speaking of awkward, while Zac Efron was promoting his comedy That Awkward Moment, see what I did there, he appeared on Conan. Being a cultural phenomenon at the time, the conversation turned to weird fan interactions, of which he'd obviously had many. Without missing a single beat, he revealed that someone had sent him a piece of their skin. Now, having watched this interview, I find it infuriating that there's no follow-up questions about this because I have many. How big was the piece? How deep had it been cut? From what part of the body had it come? Was any attempt made to preserve the skin in the post? Conan, who is apparently a hack by my incredibly high journalistic standards of asking Batista how big his knob is, fails to follow up on this, and thus we'll never ever know. Number 3, a woman has her name changed to Mrs. Kanye West. In April 2011, a woman named Linda Risa had her name legally changed to Mrs. Kanye West, in some sort of attempt to show him just how much she loved him. Now, I'm going to shock you here, this woman was not in fact Kim Kardashian, and thus her grand, sweeping gesture has gone thus far unreciprocated. I'm sure you're as stunned as I am. Number 2, a stalker visited Gwyneth Paltrow's parents at their house. After Gwyneth Paltrow won her Best Actress Oscar in 1999 for Shakespeare in Love, she shot to a level of stardom only occupied by the true, bona fide Hollywood elite. With that comes, of course, a lot more attention, both desirable and not. In an example of the latter, the actress was stalked by a crazed fan named Dante for months, and he sent her numerous letters and gifts. His big play, though, the irresistible move that Paltrow would never be able to resist, was to randomly turn up at her parents' house twice. It didn't work amazingly, and he instead got 3 years in a psychiatric facility. Number 1, a fan genuinely tried to adopt Tom Felton. Fans of the wizarding world do generally have a reputation for being about as respectful and gracious as bad nerds go. But there are, of course, always 1 or 2 bad eggs in any large group of people, and Draco Malfoy actor Tom Felton discovered this fact in a truly unorthodox fashion. Back when the Potter movie series was still in full swing, Felton revealed that a fan had changed his name to Lucius Malfoy and tried to legally adopt him, sending him the documents required to disown his parents and move to his house in the States, which he had named Malfoy Manor. Felton was literally a teenager at the time, so yes, regardless of how famous you are, that's pretty weird.